Hey guys, welcome back to Chit Chat Tuesday. Alright, today's topic is going to be my birth story, but it's going to be part 1. I have 2 kids, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to do my daughter's birth story in part 1. I'm going to do my son's in part 2. They are completely different, so if you would like to hear about his, that will go up next week. But today we're talking about my sweet baby girl who was born almost 11 years ago, 10 and a half years ago to be exact. She is exactly 10 and a half right now. I'm not going to say her birthday. She was born in January 2012. I'm not going to say the day because that's just a little weird. My sweet Sophia, my husband and I actually had picked out her name before we even got married, before we even got pregnant with her. We wanted a little girl and we wanted her name to be Sophia. So she literally, was planned from jump. We actually got pregnant with her before we got married. She was at our wedding. We didn't know it. I was only like 2 weeks pregnant at our wedding, but she was there. She is my beautiful. If the camera wiggles, it's because the dogs are down there. She is my beautiful creative Aquarius. I'm not super into horoscopes, but I do know, I do know what their, signs are or whatever, my kids, and myself and my husband. So, whatever. She does kind of fit into the Aquarius category. So, anyways, so I started getting, and I'm going to give you a little bit of pregnancy info with each kid, and then we're going to talk about the birth. I started puking daily around 4 weeks. Around 4 weeks, I took a pregnancy test at our townhouse, mine and my husband's townhouse. Guys, quit licking your feet. I don't know if you can hear that, but he's licking his paw. I hate that sound. And it was positive. My husband was at work. He was in a meeting, and I actually texted him a picture of the pregnancy test while he was in the meeting. And he was like, it was incredibly hard for me to continue on the meeting and not just run out. But anyways, we were both super excited. And then almost instantly, the sickness started. I'm talking about I threw up anything and everything. It went in and then it went right back out. I had so many food aversions. I lived off of very little food. I barely gained any weight. I was just so sick. Felt so bad. Guys, stop. Stop sniffing under the door. So sick, felt so bad. I threw up multiple times a day, every day for 27 weeks. And that is while being on medication. Okay? I took Zofran once in the morning and once at night before bed. And I still threw up multiple times a day. I think it's called hypermesis. I'm not too sure. I did not have that. But at the time I didn't know that existed. So I did not know to ask my doctor about that. But, I had a healthy baby and I, turned out healthy and all that stuff. But I just felt awful. I had no energy. I couldn't do anything. I literally I had to quit my job. I felt so sick. All right. I literally moved from the bed to the couch. I always had a trash can with me. I hated going anywhere because I was going to puke. There are certain songs I can hear now, to this day, and I instantly, because, popular songs on the radio, they play over and over and over, and I just remember there are certain songs. There's one Pitbull song. Every time I hear it, I feel nauseous. I get that feeling again because every time I heard it, when it was, popular, I was always feeling nauseous, all the time. Around 27 weeks, I stopped feeling sick. I stopped throwing up, praise be. And I was able to finish out my pregnancy, pretty good. I think I might have thrown up 2 or 3 times after that, but nothing terrible. I kind of had energy again. My last trimester was definitely my best one. And my daughter was actually born on her due date. I went in for a checkup the day before her due date, and my doctor was like, you are so small and you are not dilated at all. You have not progressed at all, not even a little bit. I think I want you to come in tonight and be induced because I don't want you to go past your due date. I'm afraid the baby will be too big and it will end up just being a C-section. And I was like, okay, cool, we're going to be induced. Now, I had a friend back in the day that was induced with Pitocin, and I just remember her being very uncomfortable and a lot of pain. It took quite a while, and I was just like nervous, but I was like, okay, we're going to get this show on the road. We're going to do this. All right, so my husband and I, we go home. They tell us what time to be at the hospital that night, which I think was around 9 p.m. Like, they wanted us there late so they could start it, and they basically wanted me to go to sleep so I could rest, because my doctor was like, if you're asleep, you won't be stressing and your body can just do its thing, which I'm thinking, how am I going to be able to sleep in a hospital when I'm being induced? Aren't I going to be in pain? We'll get there. Okay, so my husband and I, we get to the hospital. They get us checked in. They get us in the room. Nurse comes in. She hands me this bottle. She goes, have you ever done an enema before? And I'm like, no. What do I do with that? And she, tells me how to use the enema. And I'm like, oh my God. I was more nervous about the enema than I was pushing a baby out my hoo-ha at this point. I go in the bathroom. I do the enema. I think everything comes out how it's supposed to. And I come back out. My husband's like, so how'd it go? And I'm like, I don't know. I guess we're good. So they get me in the bed, and they inform me that instead of Pitocin, they are going to use, and I don't even remember what it's called. I don't know the technical term, and I did not Google it because honestly, this is my birth story, and I'm not going to be throwing out medical jargon. This is how I remember it, and this is how you're going to get it. It's a tablet they insert into your cervix, and that is supposed to induce you. And then they insert the tablet into your cervix, and that gets things moving. And I'm like, oh, okay. And my doctor, the nurse is like, your doctor wanted us to do it like this instead of with Pitocin, yada, yada, yada. We're going to hook you up to the stuff. She inserted the tablet thing, and I'm like, cool. It wasn't the most comfortable thing ever, but whatever. We're going to get this show on the road. We're going to get this baby out. We're going to get it going. So, anywho, a little bit later, a nurse comes in, and she's like, hey, your doctor wanted us to give you an Ambien so you can sleep, okay? Because you have to remember, we came in at 9 p.m. By this time, it's like 11 p.m., pushing midnight. And my doctor just wanted me to be able to lay down, go to sleep, get some rest, let my body do its thing, yada, yada, yada. So she goes, he wants us to give you an Ambien. And I'm like, okay. The only thing I'd ever heard about Ambien is I had a friend whose aunt took it, and she ended up getting in the car and driving, had no idea she did it. She ate an entire cake. She kept gaining weight. She was like, what the hell's happening? Turns out she was going in the kitchen and eating a bunch of stuff while she was on Ambien and had no idea and didn't remember. So I'm like, okay. And let me tell you, 2 non-drowsy Sudafed will knock me unconscious. I don't know why. I've always been like that. I can take ibuprofen and go to sleep. Like, it makes me sleepy. Everything makes me sleepy. So she's like, have you ever taken Ambien before? And I'm like, no, I haven't. And she gives me this pill. Y'all, when I say once this Ambien kicked in, I didn't know what planet I was on. I didn't know my name. I didn't know I existed. I remember laying there. I remember being in the room, and everybody thought I was asleep. Like, my mom gets there the next morning. Everybody thinks I'm asleep, but I'm not asleep. I can hear everybody, but it's like my body won't work, my brain won't work, my mouth won't work. I don't feel a darn thing. And every once in a while, I'd like come to, and a nurse would be checking me. I got an epidural, had no idea that they were even, like, I remember sitting up on the side of the bed, and the anesthesiologist was like joking with my husband, and he was joking with my husband, and then he went to do the epidural, and like my leg kicked, and I kicked my husband in the balls. I'm pretty sure that's what he said. I accidentally kicked him in the balls. I had no idea. I had no control over my body. They do the epidural. I'm laying there. And even before they did the epidural, my husband said he was watching the monitors and he would see a contraction come up and he would just look at me. And it would be a big one. And he would just be looking at me and he's like, nothing. And I was just like, out. Okay? So I never felt a darn thing. Not a contraction, not a pain. I didn't feel the epidural, nothing. And nurse came in. She was like, we're going to break your water. I remember her putting on a glove. And I remember my husband asking like how they did it. And the glove had like a prick on the one of the fingers or something. And they broke my water. I had no idea they had come in and put a catheter in. Had no idea. So I was laying there just in and out of consciousness, and a nurse walks in, she checks me, and she goes, it's time to push. And I said, not right now, I'm taking a nap. So they come in and they're like, all right, it's time to push. And I can guarantee you I would not have torn at all. But my husband, when they told him to grab one of my legs, no, Gus, that hurts. Your toenails are scratchy. My mom was on one side, my husband was on the other, and he puts my foot by my forehead. And I tore on my left side, which is the side he was on. But I pushed like twice, and Sophia was in the world. They cleaned me up, stitched me up. I had like maybe 1 or 2 stitches, nothing major. And you know, I had an epidural, so I couldn't feel anything. Not that I was real lucid. I was not with it. It was like a snap, and all of a sudden I was just like, I knew what was happening. About 2 hours after she was born, that's how long it took. And I was very upset about it, that Ambien messed me up that bad, because I didn't get to enjoy my birthing process. I didn't get to enjoy any of it. I was barely conscious for the whole thing. And so I was very, very upset. But Sophia latched on no problem. I did breastfeed. She latched on no problem. She had no issues. She was a little jaundiced. But other than that, she was great. She never left the room with us at all. We stayed overnight. We left the next day. And I'm going to tell you, when I say that it felt like I got hit by a bus, I'm not even joking. All right? It felt like I got hit by a bus. Between the epidural and not being able to feel my legs, because it took several hours after I gave birth for me to be able to feel my legs. Between that and the Ambien and the pushing and the tear and all of that, my first bowel movement, I thought I was just going to have to die. To be honest, I was like, no, I will not poop. I will not do it. No. And if you've been there, then you know. My best friend was that, what is it, the derma whatever, the spray, like the antiseptic spray that's really cold and cooling, and you like spray that, and then you have like the perineal bottle. Oh, yes. And then like just, it hurt to sit down. It hurt to walk. I couldn't even go upstairs in my house for like a week because it hurt to walk up the stairs. I was just, oh gosh. I remember after we got home crying, and my mom and my husband were like, what's wrong? And I was like, I can't vacuum and my stomach is still squishy. Because like you see so many times on like movies, and you see celebrities, they go from pregnant to looking exactly how they did before they got pregnant overnight. And I feel like that's a lot of people's expectations, and that is some people's reality. But for the good majority of us, your stomach is still very squishy. It's still very soft. It's still very much protruding. And I just remember touching it and I was like, it doesn't feel like this stomach belongs to me. It feels like this stomach belongs to someone else, if that makes sense. It was almost like a prosthetic. It was like you couldn't feel anything. The skin's all loose and wiggly and just weird. And it's a lot. You've got hormones and you're breastfeeding and your nipples are sore and your body is sore and your vagina is sore. And like so many things they don't tell you about. But ultimately, I mean, I'm just happy to have my beautiful, healthy, creative, so smart, so kind, tender-hearted, beautiful baby girl. She is so amazing. She is so helpful. She is the best. Okay, I love her so much. I will say that, I mean, to this day, I'm still very bummed that I was basically unconscious for her birth. To be honest, just because I don't remember a lot of things. Like it was like the next day and I was like, how much did she weigh, by the way? You know, because like when they weigh her, I wasn't even over there. My husband and my mom just kind of walked off because I wasn't lucid. So, I mean, like, they were over there with her when they were weighing her and, like, bathing her. I didn't even get to, like, wash her the first time. None of that. They didn't even place her on my chest and do skin to skin first. They immediately took her over and got her, cleaned up and stuff, which was not what I wanted. And so I definitely knew what to do when I got pregnant with my son and about birth plan and speaking up for myself. So if you want to hear part 2 and you want to hear my birth story with my son, then go ahead and come back next week. Subscribe if you're not already so you can be notified that the video is live next week and you can hear all about that. But with that, I am done. I love you guys. If you have a birth story you want to share it in the comments down below. Love you guys, and I will see you next week. Bye.